Kuzuzampo and welcome to this special BBS program with me, Kinzang Lhadon. Today's program is on FAB23 Bhutan, which is the world's largest digital fabrication and innovation conference that is going to be held right here in Bhutan. To discuss more on this, I have three guests from 𝗓𝗪 Holding and Investments. To introduce them, Ms. 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝘁, Mr. 𝗕𝗪𝗿𝗱𝗀𝘀, Mr. 𝗵𝗂𝘀. So I'd like to welcome you all here.
Thank you.
So first, to begin with our discussion, would you like to introduce what is DHI InnoTech?
Yes, maybe I can take that question. DHI InnoTech is the Department of Innovation and Technology in 𝗓𝗪 Holding and Investments as a company. It started about 3.5 years ago. It was one of the many initiatives that started in response to His Majesty's vision for a technology-driven economy. And then within that technology-driven economy, we're also thinking about startups and innovation. So if you talk about the Department of InnoTech, or what we call InnoTech in short, our main goal is to develop technology with values. But beyond that, we're also trying to start up and help the entire innovation ecosystem for Bhutan. So this would mean that not only do we have our own projects, but we work with the academic institutions locally and globally. And then also we partner up with local companies and also international companies. Another major initiative underneath with the Department of InnoTech was the 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝗁 Super Fab Lab, which got inaugurated last June 4th, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a quick brief intro to the Department of InnoTech.
Yes. So now talking about the event is going to happen at the 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝗁 Super Fab Lab at 𝗕𝗵𝘂. So can any of you tell us what actually happens at the Super Fab Lab? If maybe Sir Chirag or anyone can tell us what is Fab Lab and how Super Fab Labs are different from a Fab Lab.
Okay, so Fab Lab, it stands for Fabrication Laboratory, meaning it's basically a maker space. So it started with the movement from Professor 𝗪 𝗪𝗿𝗀𝗀 in Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Boston, USA, and then what he started a small fabrication lab for makers, or a maker space, where he kept it open for everyone to come use the lab, use the facilities. So that way he gathered a lot of interest from the population, and then he thought, why not let's go global. And today, if you look from the journey that started in 2004 till 2023, we have around more than 2,000 Fab Labs around the world. So a Fab Lab is generally a fabrication laboratory that leverages digital fabrication technologies. So anyone who wants to use the lab, it's an open space whereby you can turn your ideas into prototypes and hopefully those prototypes into commercial ventures as well. And the difference between a Super Fab Lab and a Fab Lab is you can fabricate machines that go in a Fab Lab at the Super Fab Lab, meaning you can build your own machines as well. So for example, you can build your own 3D printer or your own vinyl cutter. So yes, and 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝗁 Super Fab Lab is the third Super Fab Lab to be launched in the world. The first one is in MIT, of course, the second one in Kerala, India, and the third one is in 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝗁 Super Fab Lab in Thimphu. Yes.
So 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝗁 Super Fab Lab, when it was first inaugurated last year, it was very special for us because it was supposed to be a gift from His Majesty to the people. So as Chirag mentioned, it's only the third Super Fab Lab in the world. So far there's only 4 in the world. There's one in Finland that just came up after us. But the idea is that it should be a space for everyone, regardless of their backgrounds, to be able to come in and use the machines. So that's kind of what we've been doing since inaugurating last year. We've managed to run programs and work with students and also interested stakeholders to come in and actually learn how to use those machines. I think the most impressive part about our Super Fab Lab shouldn't be the machines that are at the lab, but it should be the potential is realized by building a community of users around it.
Yes. So talking about Super Fab Lab, I believe that's not that's not only the Fab Lab that we have in Bhutan, because we do have like other standard Fab Labs also. So would you like to give us some details on it?
Yes. So in addition to the Super Fab Lab last year, 4 other Fab Labs were launched. The first one was in College of Natural Resources in Punakha. There's one at the 𝗓𝗪𝗂𝘀𝗀𝘀 Institute in 𝗵𝗂, one with the College of Science and Technology in Phinsaling, and one with the 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝗁𝘀 Power Training Institute in 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗶𝗀𝗀𝘀. I think 𝗓𝗏𝗃 is probably the best person to talk about these labs because he was there as it was being set up and as the Fab network came together in Bhutan.
Yes. So yeah, with all this Fab Lab, we have placed them in such a strategic location. Of course, these Fab Labs were made by the Department of Cottage and Small Industries under Ministry of Economic Affairs. And yes, these labs are placed in such strategic locations so that they are not only Thimphu centric, meaning not all the labs are not in Thimphu. That way, students and community from across the country have access. For example, people in Phintsiling can use the Fab Lab in College of Science and Technology, or people in Wangdi can use the one in 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝘀. So it's been made such way, and 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝗃 Fab Lab functions as an umbrella entity for all these labs, meaning we also provide them with strategic guidance in terms of helping them in terms of operation, maintenance, and sharing our knowledge and network. So we have a very cohesive and a very strong network among all the Fab Labs. And with regard to the event, I think we also have a very strong network and collaboration with all the Fab Labs in the country.
Okay. So now,
if I could add, so my friend 𝗓𝗏𝗃 mentioned about it being in the different colleges being in strategic locations. One of the main purpose for that is to introduce the innovation culture in all areas of Bhutan, because we understand now that we can't do it just in Thimphu. It has to be from all over. We don't know the challenges and issues that are faced by local and remote communities. So the idea is to 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝗃 Fab Lab as an umbrella entity, having all these remote Fab Labs working together. We'll try to address many different issues that are faced by many different types of people that live in Bhutan.
nice. So going on to the main subject of our discussion, can any one of you tell us what is FAB23 Bhutan all about?
Yes. So FAB23 is actually part of the International Fab Lab Conference, or as is commonly known, the FabX events. These are events that have taken place every single year since 2005.
Yes.
And essentially what it is it's a place for all of the different Fab Labs across the world to gather and to use as a place for knowledge exchange, to talk to each other and to come up with collaborative projects. So this year, 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝗃 Fab Lab and also DHI is really excited to be the local host. And as part of being the local host, we're also trying to make sure that there's enough community involvement and enough activities that are happening within the conference that are contextually relevant to us.
So as you have already mentioned about the activities, exciting activities that we're going to have during the conference, so what kind of activities can people expect from the conference?
So as part of the conference, the theme we actually came up with that we thought was very relevant to Bhutan was designing resilient futures.
Yes.
And as part of this theme, to make sure that it remains relevant to the rest of Bhutan, we've also come up with 4 different pillars. So we have youth and education, we have technology, we have innovation, sustainability and community, and economic opportunity and entrepreneurship. And under this, we've come up with 4 different but interconnected components of the program. So we have the Fab Student Challenge, which aims to engage with students all across the country. We have the Fab Bhutan Challenge, which is looking at grassroots involvement in solving local issues. We have the Fab Festival, which is trying to introduce the event to the rest of Thimphu and trying to make sure that there's enough local engagement. And then finally, we have the FAB23 Conference. And so for there, we'll be introducing digital fabrication, but it'll also be for people that are already interested in the subject and for them to pick up more skills.
Nice. So talking about Student Challenge, I believe it has already started. So what kind of proposals did DHI InnoTech get from students? Was there any interesting innovation and fabrication that they're working on?
Yes. So this program is actually being supported by UNICEF Bhutan in collaboration with a Department of Curriculum under the Ministry of Education.
Nice.
So with their support, we could do this project on Fab Student Challenge, and it's been themed curriculum through fabrication. Why? Because we thought curriculum in the Bhutanese education system is quite it goes from teacher to the student, and there's not many hands-on or practical work being done. So we thought maybe if we could have students coming in with their ideas in designing or thinking how they can make their curriculum better. So that's how we themed it, and we got around more than 100 proposals from different schools around the country, and we didn't get from 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝘁 and 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝘁, but thanks Nangal. So we didn't get it from 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝘁 and 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝘁. So even then there were very interesting proposals. For example, there were students who wanted to make Dzongkha grammar easier, and that way they wanted to 3D print some of the 𝗏𝗂 text and how they are used. That way students can approach 𝗏𝗂 and talk in 𝗏𝗂 better and write in 𝗏𝗂, of course. And yeah, we've also had multiple science-based projects which came directly from the students. For example, a group of students in Thimphu made a prototype of a heart so that their colleagues or their schoolmates know how the process of what happens when the blood comes to the heart and how it's pumped. We've had a wide variety of proposals, I should say.
Yeah, I think those were the really interesting ones. That being said, we haven't had time to go through all the like I haven't personally had time to go through all the student proposals. Just having the outreach throughout Bhutan has been really useful to us, so we can see exactly what the students face and what they're interested in. Additionally, now again going back to the strategic locations of the Fab Labs, these students have been allowed 3-day visits to the Fab Lab so they can build their prototype with all expenses costs, thanks to UNICEF. And the ones that are in 𝗏𝗂s or locations where they're not Fab Labs, they've come to Thimphu, and then our team at the 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝗁 Fab Lab has been helping them out.
So if I can just add on to that, sorry. There's 2 teams from 𝗵𝗂𝘁 that are currently remotely prototyping with us. But the idea, like 𝗟𝗏𝗏 mentioned, is that at a Fab Lab, we wanted to be able to introduce to students additional skills that they could require, but taking it outside of the formal class setting. So all of these students that have projects, they had initial ideas and sketches that were drawn out from hand or even made out of cardboard. So that's what they submitted to us, and because those proposals were interesting, we've managed to select 12 that will be traveling actually to Thimphu with the help of UNICEF. So those students will actually be able to build a physical prototype with the help of the Fab Labs. And so the idea is that while they're doing that, they're able to gain valuable skills in design, 3D printing, or even laser cutting without feeling like they're learning something in school. So it's like a very informal setting for learning.
So I think with the help of Fab Lab now, learning is becoming very interesting, and students can just like put their ideas, imagination into a prototype and then fabricate it, right?
Yeah.
We also heard about an open public challenge that's going to be in the conference. So what is that about? Can anybody just walk in and participate in, fabricate their prototype?
Yeah, so I think you're referring to the Fab Bhutan challenge. So for that, we wanted to make sure that the impact from this international conference, because there's a lot of global creative thinkers coming in, we wanted to make sure that those impacts were diversified across the country. And the best way we could find to do that was to involve the other Fab Labs. So we're very grateful to the 4 other Fab Labs in the country that have lent their time, resources, and also just their expertise. So what we've done with this challenge is that we've asked them to come up with, we've asked them to partner with a community partner and come up with an issue that they think is very significant in their communities. So in answer to your question about whether anyone can participate, unfortunately we had floated a call for applications to both international and local participants. We have a team of about 10 to 15 participants per challenge that will be actually traveling to the labs on the 16th of this month until the 22nd to build their physical solutions. But the idea is that the people from the community should be able to visit those labs and partake in it as an observer and as consultants to the people that are developing these solutions.
So from our side, what we'll try to do is there's also an open awareness day or Fab Festival that's happening on the 23rd of July at the Clock Tower Center in Thimphu. And there what we'll do is we'll bring in all the challengers from around the country who have prototyped for 1 week in respective Fab Labs. They'll be showcasing their products at the Clock Tower. So I think it'll be a nice avenue for all the citizens or community who's interested to learn. Along with that, we'll also be prototyping the Fab Student Challenge project. So they will be running that throughout the conference from the 23rd till the 28th of July.
So we have talked about the participants, but what about audience? Is there going to be audience every day to witness what they're doing, the participants?
For the challenge?
Yeah.
For the challenge, we've floated an invitation to the community. So we've received quite a few that are interested in just walking in for a day or two and just viewing. But our main focus is to direct all of that traffic to the conference and to the Fab Festival, like Chirag mentioned, because that's where they'll actually be able to engage and learn and listen to different talks.
Then can you also share, can any one of you just share what kind of other activities we're going to have in this conference?
I think generally there's a lot of talks, panels, and symposiums, and even a few hands-on workshops.
Yes.
So generally, how the program's structured, my friend Chirag, even 𝗵𝗂𝗋𝗀 mentioned that on the 23rd there's a Fab Fest at the Clock Tower where it's open to public. Starting from the 24th, we'll have the inauguration, and all the events happen at the 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝘁 Super Fab Lab. The parking lot will be converted into a huge tent where generally the morning sessions will start. So the main tent has a capacity of about 500 or so people. So in the morning half there'll be just one stage, one event venue where there's multiple talks every different days. But after lunch, all the participants and the speakers break out into separate rooms where multiple workshops will be going on. And these multiple workshops, some of them are hands-on, some of them are just theoretical discussions, and some of them are just for idea sharing and knowledge transferring between local participants, international participants, and also, local to local, international to international also.
Okay, so
along with that, so when we didn't want to term it as a conference, because in conference what usually happens is people go into the podium and then talk for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, right? But with this event, we just have a main event which goes for 2-3 hours. After that, we split them into workshops that people are interested in. And if you have a look at the website, Fab Events, we have the full schedule there, and you can design your own track, meaning if you're interested in one of the workshops, you can register there. And after 1 hour, you can go to the other workshop and do that. So we've also made our tracks according to the 4 themes that 𝗵𝗂𝗋 mentioned. So you can follow the education track, innovation track, economy track, or the 4 tracks.
So talking about the event, among the participants, is it going to be like a tournament after they put up their output, fabricate their output? Is there going to be a competition and prizes awarded to them?
For the student challenge and for the Fab Bhutan challenge, we have grant money to be awarded. We'll be doing the judging during the actual conference itself. So from 24th until the 28th, when everyone's attending the conferences, we'll have a chance to do voting. We'll also have a selection of judges that walk by to judge the student challenge, and we'll award the prizes on the last day.
Yes. So as long as it's also a competition, we're trying to not make it into a very stringent type of a competition. Why? Because we'd also want them to share their whatever they've learned, whatever they have designed with the community that they interact with. Of course, we will be giving out gifts and prizes, but I think the learning would be of greater value.
Additionally, also, if you think about the workshops and the conference, their specific outputs, right? Some of them may be able to fabricate some things there, but some of them, these conversations will go on longer with the experts, with the local community and the students. So more than just the challenges and the fabrication done there, we're also hoping to build a network. That way, just to refer back, we've been able to leverage 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝘁 Super Fab Lab for even our projects, where we've been able to attract international investors and also international partners because we have that. So again, we're doing the same thing here, leveraging the 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝘁𝘁 Super Fab Lab. We're hoping to connect to a lot of interesting and highly skilled people who want to make an impact in Bhutan or even outside Bhutan. So that's also another benefit or an outcome that could be reached.
Yes. So talking about Bhutan's journey to hosting this mega event, how did Bhutan get the opportunity to host such a grand event globally?
So yeah, with regard to this, the Fab event happens every year, like 𝗵𝗂𝗋 mentioned that time. And in 2018, if I'm not wrong, the Fab event happened in Toulouse in France. And then the former Fab Lab, which was the first Fab Lab in Bhutan, which was inaugurated in 2017, and it was called Fab Lab Bhutan, and then they switched over to calling themselves Fab Lab Mandela. They pitched at the Toulouse event, and they got the event. And then the event was supposed to happen in last year in 2021, but because of COVID-19 and all the lockdowns we had, unfortunately, we couldn't carry out the event. And then the event, I think, happened in Bali last year, and it was given to Bhutan this year. And because Fab Lab Mandela is not existing anymore, they handed over their lab to the Desung Schooling projects. It's called the 𝗕𝗄 Fab Lab, and yeah, that's why 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗋𝗀𝗃 Super Fab Lab got the opportunity to host this prestigious event.
Yes. So when I was going through some research, doing some research about on Fab Labs, I was wondering, like, it's just my personal opinion. I was thinking, like, we have 𝗤𝗕𝗃𝗀𝘀, the sculpting and handicrafts, I mean, like sculpture and thing. So I think with the help of Fab Lab, it's going to make that work a lot easier. So do you guys have anything to say on this?
Yeah, generally we're very excited to have traditional artisans from Bhutan come work with us and maybe help ease the work, even try out new designs. In terms of, we'd be happy to share whatever tech and knowledge we have in order to help them, and then they can come in with their designs and see how it works. But one thing we have to be wary of is Fab Labs, or even Super Fab Labs. They're there for prototyping, really designing and prototyping. We can't mass produce there, and it's not really a commercial entity. So, so in order to try something out, test something out, learn something, we're definitely the platform for that, and we're definitely excited and interested in working with our traditional artisans like that.
Yes, and in fact, along with this, at the 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗃𝘀 Super Fab Lab, would run multiple workshops, programs, whereby we've also invited some of these traditional craftsmen and fabricators, which makes the process really easy. And as long as we say Fab Labs are open, we respect their IP rights, their ownership of their product. So even if they don't want to share their IPs or their designs to anyone else, then we can keep it with them and ensure that there's privacy with whatever they're trying to design.
So I think the idea is that we don't replace tradition, and we're not using the machines in the lab to replace something that a skilled traditional artisan could do. The idea is that we're working with them to enhance methods that might need improvement.
Yes. I'm talking about Fab Labs. What do you think about the future of Fab Lab? And as we know that as Chirag sir has already spoken about how Fab Labs are located so that it is accessible to everyone. So what do you think about future of Fab Lab in our country?
Okay, let me go back globally. So when we look at Fab Labs, it started with the Fab Lab in MIT, which we call Fab Lab 1.0. So you have basic machines such as 3D printer, vinyl cutters, and all those machines you will find anywhere in the world. But then came Fab Lab 2.0, where we have the Super Fab Lab, and you can build your own machines. So we use the machines that we have at the lab, and then there's Fab Lab 2.0. And then now the next step would be Fab Lab 3.0. How? So you can actually use artificial intelligence and machine learning and program the machines to create another machine. So I guess that's the future. But if you look at Bhutan, I think we still have to get a foothold on the eastern side of the country, because we still don't have a Fab Lab there. I think our immediate step, of course, would be to set up a Fab Lab in the eastern side of the country. And for us, I think it would be to inspire the kids, the students, the university students, and even people of all ages to get to know what a Fab Lab and what machines there are in a Fab Lab. And then maybe we can possibly have some ventures coming out of the Fab Lab as startups.
Additionally, we've also, to sort of further the idea of introducing Fab Labs and digital fabrication across the country, one of our pilot projects in the 𝗕𝗵𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗃𝘀 Super Fab Lab is the Fab in the Box project. We've been prototyping a box that's able to vinyl cut, 3D print, and what else does it do? And PCB mill. Yeah. So those are the three core functions of a Fab Lab. We're trying to replicate it in a box that can be maybe replicated potentially for all the schools within the country. So that's also maybe a step closer to where we want to see how Fab Labs grow.
Talking about FAB23 Bhutan, how many audience are we expecting from our community, from the country, and also international audience?
Yes. So I think when we were designing the program, we wanted to be very intentional and aware of the fact that even though it's already an established event that happens every year with established international stakeholders that attended every year, when we hosted it here, we wanted to make sure that there was enough local participation. So what that means is we capped the international ticket sales at 300 tickets sold, and we're trying to match that number through sponsored tickets. I think we sponsored recently close to 200 tickets for students, local students. We have 75 tickets right now going up for entrepreneurs to actually be sponsored to attend the conference. And in addition, we're also taking requests from different members of the community through our email, FAB23Bhutan@dhi.pt. And so through that, we were able to right now be at a 50-50, so 300 international participants and 300 local participants.
Okay, that's a lot of numbers. So will we be able to accommodate all of them here?
Yes, so that was the biggest concern for us, is because the Super Fab Lab is quite far from the center of town also when you compare the location. When you compare the lab itself, the inside of the space is actually not able to accommodate that many people.
Yes.
But I think, like 𝗵𝘂 mentioned earlier, what we're trying to do now is convert the outside parking lot into a big space where people can actually sit, attend, and network with each other before breaking off into smaller groups that are more relevant to their interests.
So my last question would be to Mr. 𝗵𝘂. So if you could tell us why people should come and take part in this event, and do you have any closing remarks to give?
Maybe actually this might be better if I open the floor to even my two friends, right? But my quick take on this is anybody who has a passion and a will to, make an impact for Bhutan. I'm talking locally here, to make an impact for Bhutan, and they want to leverage technology or digital fabrication to do it, definitely come to the program. Additionally, if you're young, you're a student, you don't know where you're going in the future, and you kind of want a glimpse of what Bhutan's future could be, and the type of future you can have a role in, definitely come to the FAB conference. Additionally, if you want to meet a lot of interesting people who have a lot of different ideas and at different economic statuses, at different races, different religions, definitely come, because it's a melting pot of like really interesting people, and most of them will be sharing their knowledge openly and freely. The digital fabrication community has been very kind to basically any country that they've been involved with. So we're also leveraging on their kindness and generosity to bring new ideas and new tech within Bhutan. Please, 𝗓𝗏𝗧 number on this.
That I would also request the general public maybe. So when we say it's a digital fabrication event, it doesn't mean that it's specifically for information technology or computer science or engineering, right? Because if you look at one of the speakers that we're getting, his name is 𝗕𝗏𝗃. He used to be an investor at the Wall Street, and he didn't like the lifestyle probably, but after that he came into the Fab Lab ecosystem. So it's a very open space. We also have a 17-year-old kid who's coming from the US, and he has around 3 or 4 startups. I think for everyone, be it any background, they should come explore, especially at the clock tower. If you're not sure about the event, then you'll get to network with 300 international participants in Thimphu, and I don't think we won't be getting such an opportunity in a long time to come.
Yes.
And I think just to reiterate both points made by 𝗓𝗏𝗃 and 𝗵𝘂, the idea of digital fabrication can be really daunting. So I hope the public is able to look past the big words and come to just learn. A lot of the workshops that we have and a lot of the talks are for beginners. And so it's from anywhere from a student that wants to take on additional skills before heading off to college, or any college students that want to diversify their skill set, or even someone that's been working for 50 years now and wants to learn something new. This is the perfect opportunity to do so. And like 𝗓𝗏𝗃 mentioned, we have a lot of people to thank. Unfortunately, I don't think we have time to thank all of them. But I think the 4 other Fab Labs in the country have been really instrumental to the success of this event. I'm sure you've noticed the FAB Student Challenge, the FAB Bhutan Challenge, and even the 2 Fab Fest and the Fab Conference wouldn't be possible without their support and their participation.
Yes.
So with this, I would also like to take the opportunity to thank our partners and sponsors. First of all, we have Center for Bits and Atoms with MIT, the Fab Foundation, the FAB23 Foundation, and we also have the Embassy of India who sponsored us, then Bank of Bhutan, Bhutan Telecom, UNICEF Bhutan, UNDP Bhutan, 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀, USAID and USEA. Additionally, as Namgyal mentioned, we'd also like to thank all the Fab Labs around the country.
With this, we have come to the end of our program. Thank you to all my panelists for taking your time and coming here. And to all the viewers, thank you for watching. Goodbye and take care.